Commander Eliza Morris stared out the viewport of the CSS Vigilant at the blue-green planet below. Earth looked peaceful from this distance, its inhabitants going about their daily lives, completely unaware that they were being watched. Not just by her ship, but by the entire Galactic Concord. "Commander, we've got another one," said Lieutenant Frank Wells, his fingers dancing across the control panel. "Small craft, approaching from the direction of Proxima Centauri. Looks like they're trying to slip through the dark side of your moon." Eliza sighed and straightened her uniform. This was the third attempt this week. For decades, patrol duty around Earth had been considered the most boring assignment in the fleet. Now it was becoming the busiest. "Intercept course. Standard containment procedures," she ordered. The Vigilant moved silently through space, its advanced engines leaving no visible trail. Around Earth's orbital space, massive holographic warning beacons floated, invisible to human technology but blindingly obvious to any spacefaring civilization. The messages were clear in over 200 galactic languages. Earth is quarantined. No contact permitted. Violators will be detained, yet they still came. "Why Earth?" Eliza muttered to herself as the ship accelerated. Of all the planets in all the systems, the alien vessel was sleek and clearly built for speed rather than confrontation. When its pilot realized they'd been spotted, they made a desperate attempt to outrun the Vigilant. It was futile. Within minutes, the CSS Vigilant had locked its tractor beam on the smaller craft and was pulling it into the containment bay. Lieutenant Wells checked the ship's registry. "It's from the Centauri Federation, registered to a private citizen, not a scientific vessel." Eliza nodded. That was becoming the pattern. These weren't official expeditions or even the expected smugglers looking for Earth's unique biological specimens. These were tourists, pilgrims, something stranger. "Let's go meet our visitors," she said. The containment bay was designed to accommodate a wide variety of alien physiologies. The air could be adjusted for different atmospheric needs, and gravity could be modulated. For the Centaurians who evolved on a world similar to Earth, few adjustments were needed. When the door to the captured vessel opened, 3 beings emerged. They looked nearly human, except for their silvery skin and large, pupil-less eyes. They wore simple robes rather than the environmental suits Eliza expected. "I am Commander Eliza Morris of the Galactic Concord Enforcement Fleet. You have violated the quarantine zone of planet Earth, a protected developing world. State your purpose." The tallest of the 3 stepped forward. "I am Solana of the Centauri Federation. We come seeking healing." Eliza blinked in surprise. "Healing? The Earth is a quarantined world, not a medical facility. The Centauri Federation has access to the most advanced medical technology in the quadrant." "Not that kind of healing," said another of the aliens, her voice soft. "We seek the dreams." "Dreams?" Eliza repeated, confusion evident in her voice. "You don't know?" Solana looked genuinely surprised. "The word has spread throughout nearby systems. Earth humans generate something extraordinary when they sleep, when they create, when they imagine. It changes those who experience it." Lieutenant Wells stepped closer. "Commander, this is the same thing the Rigelians said last month." Eliza remembered the report. She had dismissed it as nonsense at the time. "Take them to Detention Block C. I'll continue this conversation after I check something." Back on the bridge, Eliza pulled up the records of recent quarantine violations. In the past year alone, there had been 78 attempts to reach Earth, more than the previous decade, combined. She sorted the reports by stated purpose: scientific research, 12 cultural observation, 8 illegal resource harvesting, 7 spiritual pilgrimage, 51 ships from 17 different species, all claiming they were drawn to Earth for some kind of spiritual or psychological reason. Many mentioned dreams, emotions, or healing energies. "Pull up the long-range scans of Earth's electromagnetic field," Eliza ordered. The holographic display showed Earth as it appeared to instruments that could detect energies beyond the human visual spectrum. Something was different from the baseline scans taken a century ago. A faint pulsing aura surrounded the planet, with occasional flares that reached far into space. "What am I looking at?" Eliza asked the ship's science officer, Kate Levine. "Unknown, Commander. It's not electromagnetic radiation in the conventional sense. It has some properties of quantum entanglement, but on a planetary scale, whatever it is, it's increased in intensity by approximately 300% over the last century." Eliza remembered her training. Earth had been placed under quarantine thousands of years ago, long before humans developed advanced civilization. The official reason was to allow the species to develop naturally without outside influence, but now she wondered if there had been another reason all along. "Lieutenant Wells, get me a secure channel to Admiral Chen at Concord Command. Priority Alpha." While waiting for the connection, Eliza returned to the detention block. The Centaurians sat calmly in their cell, appearing more like meditation practitioners than prisoners. "Tell me about these dreams," Eliza said without preamble. Solana nodded as if she had expected the question. "You must understand, Commander, that most species in the galaxy do not dream as humans do. Many have ordered thought processes during rest, but nothing like the vivid, emotional experiences that humans generate. And how would you know what human dreams are like? The quarantine has been in place for millennia. Fragments escape," said the third Centaurian, speaking for the first time. Like music heard from a distant room. For most of your species' history, these fragments were faint, barely noticeable. But as your population grew, as your civilization advanced and your collective consciousness strengthened, the emanations grew stronger. Some sensitive individuals among various species began to catch glimpses of human dreams, Solana continued. They reported experiences unlike anything known, colors beyond our visual spectrum, emotions of staggering depth, concepts that reshape perception. The effect is transformative. Eliza crossed her arms. "So you're saying humans are broadcasting their dreams into space, and that's why everyone suddenly wants to visit Earth?" "Not suddenly," Solana corrected. "The interest has always been there among those who knew. But something has changed in recent decades. The broadcasts are stronger, more coherent. Some believe it's because of your global communication networks, amplifying your collective consciousness." Before Eliza could respond, her communication device chirped. "Commander, Admiral Chen is waiting." Eliza gave the Centaurians one last look. "We'll continue this discussion later." As she walked back to the bridge, Eliza couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something important. If what the Centaurians said was true, the quarantine wasn't just protecting Earth from outside influence, it was protecting the galaxy from Earth. The Admiral's stern face appeared on the screen. "Commander Morris, your priority signal indicated new information about the Earth situation?" "Yes, Admiral. I believe we may have discovered why quarantine violations have increased. The aliens are coming here for—" She hesitated, aware of how strange it would sound. "For human dreams." Paul Martinez floated peacefully in the cockpit of his small transport vessel, enjoying the view of Mars below. The red planet had become humanity's first successful off-world colony, with 3 domed cities housing nearly 10,000 people. As one of NASA's senior pilots, Paul made the Earth-Mars supply run every 6 weeks. It was routine work, but he loved the quiet time alone among the stars. "Martinez to Mars Colony 1. I'm on my final approach. Requesting landing clearance," Paul said into his radio. "Mars Colony 1 to Martinez, clearance granted. Welcome back, Paul." He smiled and began the landing sequence. Then something on his radar caught his attention. An anomaly near Phobos, the larger of Mars's 2 moons. "Control, I'm picking up something. Unusual near Phobos. I'm going to check it out before landing." "Copy that. Be careful, Paul. Extravehicular activity isn't scheduled around Phobos today." Paul adjusted his course. As he drew closer to the moon, he saw something that made his heart race. A small craft, unlike any human vessel, drifting silently. Its strange metallic surface reflected the distant sunlight in ways that seemed to bend physics. "Control, are you seeing this?" Paul whispered, even though no one could hear him except through the radio. Static answered him. The radio was dead. He was alone with whatever or whoever this was. Paul had been briefed on protocols for potential first contact, though most astronauts considered them theoretical exercises. Stay in your vessel. Attempt communication on all frequencies. Maintain distance. Report immediately to command. But the alien craft was clearly damaged. A dark fluid leaked from its hull, freezing instantly in the vacuum of space, and something inside was moving. Paul thought about his options for exactly 3 seconds before making his decision. He maneuvered his ship alongside the damaged vessel and saw what appeared to be a viewport. Inside, a figure moved weakly. Well, so much for protocol, Paul muttered as he prepared for a spacewalk. Getting the alien from its ship to his own was the hardest thing Paul had ever done. The being was humanoid, but clearly not human, slender with blue-tinted skin and 6 fingers on each hand. It wore what looked like a uniform, now torn and stained with silvery fluid that Paul assumed was blood. In the airlock of Paul's ship, the alien gasped as Earth-normal atmosphere filled the chamber. Paul held his breath, ready to reseal his helmet if the oxygen proved toxic to his new passenger. But the alien's breathing steadied, and its large eyes, solid black without visible pupils, focused on him with unmistakable intelligence. "Can you understand me?" Paul asked, feeling foolish. Of course it couldn't. To his shock, the alien responded by pressing a small device on its wrist. A field of light surrounded its head briefly, then disappeared. "I understand you now," it said, its voice strangely melodious despite the electronic translation. "I am Zexalia, scout of the Proxima expedition. You have saved my life." Paul stared in amazement. "I'm Paul Martinez of Earth. Are you? Okay? You're bleeding." "The wound is not fatal. My ship's systems were damaged by a solar flare. I misjudged the intensity of your star." Zexalia tried to stand but stumbled. Paul helped the alien to a seat in the small cabin. "I need to report this. First contact is, well, it's a big deal for us." "No." Zexalia's reaction was sharp. "You must not. Earth is under quarantine. If your people learn of my presence, it will trigger protocols that could be dangerous for your world." "Quarantine? What are you talking about?" Zexalia's large eyes studied him carefully. "You truly don't know. Your world has been isolated from galactic society for thousands of years. By decree of the Galactic Conquered." Paul felt like he had stepped into a science fiction movie. "There's a galactic government? And they've what? Put us in a cosmic timeout?" "It is for protection, both yours and others." Zexalia winced, pressing a hand to its side where the silver fluid was seeping through. "It's clothing." "Let me help you with that first," Paul said. "Then you can explain everything." As Paul treated the alien's wound with his medical kit, Zexalia explained, the universe was full of intelligent life. Thousands of species had formed a loose federation called the Galactic Concord, which maintained certain laws across civilized space. One of those laws was non-interference with developing worlds. Earth was placed under special quarantine long ago, Zexalia said. Not just the standard protection for developing civilizations, but complete isolation. "Why?" Paul asked, applying a bandage that seemed to work on alien flesh. "That is what my people sought to discover." Zexalia looked away. "We detected unusual transmissions from your world. Not radio or digital signals, but something more profound." Paul finished bandaging the wound and sat back. "What kind of transmissions?" "Fragments of consciousness, dreams, emotions, ideas that spread across species boundaries despite having no physical medium. Most intelligent species communicate through language, mathematics, or direct neural interfaces. But humans somehow broadcast their inner states across vast distances. That's impossible," Paul said. "Yet it happens. For centuries, these broadcasts were faint, noticeable only to the most sensitive among other species. But recently they have grown stronger. Some believe it is because of your growing population and interconnected communication systems amplifying your collective consciousness." Paul thought about this. So aliens can read our minds? Not exactly. It is more like catching echoes of your dreams and creative thought. The effect is strongest when humans enter dream states or engage in creative activities. Many find the experience transformative. And that's why you're here, to study human dreams? Zexalia nodded. My people have never experienced dreams as humans do. Our sleep is practical rest without imagery or narrative. When we detected these transmissions, many became obsessed with understanding them. I volunteered as a scout. And your ship was damaged by a solar flare, Paul finished. So what happens now? I can't exactly drop you off at Mars Colony. I must return to my people eventually. But first, I need to complete my mission. Zexalia's black eyes seemed to shine with excitement. I need to experience human dreams firsthand. Paul thought about his options. Taking Zexalia to Earth would mean breaking quarantine, a quarantine he hadn't even known existed until today. But leaving the aliens stranded wasn't an option. Supposed to return to Earth next week after delivering supplies to Mars, he said finally. I could smuggle you on board. The patrol ships might detect me, Zexalia said. Patrol ships? There are alien ships around Earth? Of course. How else would the quarantine be maintained? Paul shook his head in disbelief. This is a lot to process. All my life I've wondered if we were alone in the universe, and now you're telling me we're basically on cosmic house arrest? Not house. Arrest, Zexalia corrected. Protection, both for you and for others. Protection from what? Paul asked. Zexalia was quiet for a moment. That is what I came to discover. The official records are sealed, but the rumors say that human consciousness is dangerous, that it changes those exposed to it in ways that cannot be undone. Paul stared out the viewport at the stars. His whole understanding of humanity's place in the universe had just been turned upside down. So what do we do now? Take me to Earth, Zexalia said simply. Help me understand what makes humans different, and perhaps we can discover why so many across the galaxy are suddenly desperate to experience what only Earth can provide. Paul nodded slowly. All right, but first I need to complete my delivery to Mars without anyone noticing you. Then we figure out how to sneak past these patrol ships you mentioned. I can help with that, Zexalia said. And Paul Martinez of Earth? Yes? Thank you for saving me. On many worlds, that creates a life debt between us. I will not forget. As Paul resumed his course to Mars, his mind raced with questions. Earth was quarantined, aliens were monitoring them, and somehow, human dreams were leaking into space, drawing distant civilizations like moths to a flame. Nothing would ever be the same again. Dr. Allison Wright rubbed her tired eyes and took another sip of coffee. The sleep lab at Central City Hospital was quiet at 3 a.m. On the monitors before her, brainwave patterns scrolled across the screens as her research patients slept. After 15 years studying sleep disorders, Allison thought she had seen every kind of brain activity possible during sleep. Then Zara Lee walked into her clinic. These patterns can't be right, she muttered to herself, comparing the readings from room 4 to the baseline human norms. Zara Lee had arrived 3 days ago, claiming to be a foreign exchange student suffering from complete inability to dream. Allison had seen cases of dream loss before, usually following trauma or certain medications. But Zara's case was different. According to her brain scans, she had never experienced REM sleep in her life. What made it even stranger was that Zara seemed perfectly healthy despite this. Medical literature was clear that humans needed REM sleep to function properly. Without it, people quickly developed serious mental and physical problems. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Paul Martinez stood there, looking nervous. Paul? What are you doing here? I thought you were on Mars duty, Allison said, surprised to see her old college friend. I got back early, he said, stepping into the lab and closing the door behind him. Listen, Allie, I need to talk to you about your new patient. Allison's eyebrows rose. Zara? How do you know about her? Because her real name is Zexalia, and she's not from around here, Like really not from around here. Paul took a deep breath. She's an alien. Allison stared at him for a long moment. That's not funny, Paul. I'm not joking. I found her in a damaged spacecraft near Phobos. She's here to study human dreams because apparently, we're the only species in the galaxy that has them. Under normal circumstances, Allison would have called for psychiatric help, but she had known Paul since they were kids. He wasn't the type to make up wild stories, and it would explain those impossible brain scans. Show me proof, she said simply. 20 minutes later, Allison stood in room 4 staring at Zexalia's true form. The alien had been using some kind of technology to appear human, but had deactivated it at Paul's request. This is impossible, Allison whispered, her scientific mind racing to process what she was seeing. I apologize for the deception, Zexalia said. It was necessary to access your sleep laboratory. She needs your help, Allie, Paul explained. Her people detected something unusual about human brain activity during sleep. They think our dreams are somehow leaking into space. Allison looked at her brain scan monitors, then back at the alien. That's why your patterns looked so strange. Your brain literally doesn't have the structures for dreaming. Correct, Zexalia said. No known species has this ability except humans. Yet recently, many across the galaxy have begun experiencing fragments of human dreams. It is causing significant disruption. Disruption how? Allison asked. Some see these dream fragments as religious experiences. Others become addicted to them. Some governments fear them as a form of mind control. The Galactic Concord has maintained Earth's quarantine for millennia because of this unique trait. But the effect is growing stronger. Allison sat down heavily in a chair. You're telling me human dreams are broadcasting into space? That's scientifically impossible. Perhaps with your current understanding of science, Zexalia said gently, but something is happening. I must understand what makes human consciousness different. Before Allison could respond, her phone rang. It was a secure line that only a few people had access to. She answered cautiously. Dr. Wright, this is John Daniels from the NSA. We need to meet immediately. It's about anomalous brain activity patterns you're researching. Allison's blood ran cold. She looked at Paul and Zexalia, then spoke carefully into the phone. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mr. Daniels. Dr. Wright, this is a matter of national security. We've detected unusual energy signatures centered around your hospital. I'm 10 minutes away with a team. Please secure your facility. She hung up and turned to the others. We have a problem. John Daniels had been tracking unusual phenomena for the past year. Reports of strange objects in the sky had increased tenfold. His small NSA team had been monitoring electromagnetic anomalies that didn't match any known pattern. 3 days ago, they detected a massive energy spike over the Pacific Ocean, followed by smaller pulses centered on Central City Hospital. Now sitting across from Dr. Allison Wright in her office, he was finally getting some answers, though not the ones he expected. You're telling me this foreign patient of yours is actually from another planet? John said skeptically. I know how it sounds, Allison replied. But you need to see this. She showed him the brain scan comparisons between Zara Zexalia and normal human patterns. The differences were undeniable. Even if this is true, John said slowly, what does it have to do with the signals we've been tracking? Paul stepped forward. According to Zexalia, human dreams emit some kind of energy that can be detected across space. It's why Earth has been quarantined by this Galactic Concord thing. They've been keeping aliens away from us and us away from them. John's team had set up equipment around the hospital, confirming that the energy pulses were strongest around the sleep lab. Whatever was happening, it wasn't a hoax. If what you're saying is true, this changes everything we thought we knew about human consciousness, John said. And about our place in the universe, added Paul. Zexalia, still in her human disguise around John, spoke up. The question is not just how human dreams work, but why they are suddenly reaching farther into space. Something has changed in recent decades. Allison looked thoughtful. The timing coincides with the growth of global communications networks. Maybe our technology is somehow amplifying the effect. John's phone buzzed. He checked it and his face went pale. We've got company. Satellite imagery shows an unidentified craft entering Earth's atmosphere. It's heading straight for us. Paul and Zexalia exchanged alarmed looks. The patrol fleet, Zexalia said. They must have detected me. We need to move, John decided. My team has a secure facility outside the city. We can continue this discussion there. As they hurried to gather essential equipment, Allison's monitors began showing unusual activity. Every patient in the sleep lab was simultaneously entering deep REM sleep, regardless of where they were in their normal sleep cycle. What's happening to them? Paul asked. Allison checked the readings. Their brain activity is synchronizing. I've never seen anything like this. It's a response to my presence, Zexalia said quietly. My people theorize that human consciousness can sense other forms of awareness. Your sleeping patients are reaching out. On the monitors, the brainwave patterns grew more intense, pulsing in perfect rhythm. Outside, the lights in the hospital began to flicker. We need to go now, John insisted. As they rushed toward the exit, one of John's agents ran up to them. Sir, you need to see this. They followed him to a window overlooking the hospital parking lot. In the sky above, lights were appearing, not one craft but dozens, their hulls reflecting the city lights below. Are those all? Paul couldn't finish the question. Yes, Zexalia answered. The quarantine is breaking. They're coming for the dreams. Allison looked at the monitors she had brought with her, showing the synchronized brain waves of her sleeping patients. Whatever makes human dreams special, I think we're about to find out exactly how powerful it is. John pulled out his secure phone. I need to contact Washington. This just became the most important scientific discovery in human history. As they watched the ships descend, they knew nothing would ever be the same again. The mystery of why aliens were desperate to visit Earth was about to be revealed. The underground NSA facility hummed with activity. John Daniels had called in every available agent, while keeping the situation contained to his small trusted team. No one had alerted the wider government yet. How could they explain dozens of alien ships appearing over a hospital without causing panic? We need to understand what we're dealing with before we tell the president, John explained to the group gathered around the conference table. Dr. Allison Wright connected her equipment to the large monitor on the wall. She had brought brain scan data from her sleep lab patients, including recordings from the moment when all their sleep patterns had synchronized. What we're seeing here defies everything we know about neuroscience, she said, pointing to the wave patterns. These patients were all in different sleep cycles, different rooms with no contact with each other. Yet their brain activity suddenly locked into perfect synchronization when the alien ships appeared. Paul Martinez glanced at Zexalia, who sat quietly in her human disguise at the end of the table. Could this be related to what you called the dream broadcasts? Zexalia nodded. I believe so. My theory is that human consciousness operates on quantum principles that other species lack. You create fields of mental energy that can influence reality at a fundamental level. That's impossible, said Lisa Conway, a physicist John had brought into the team. She had been studying the energy readings from the hospital. Consciousness is just brain activity. Electrical signals and chemical reactions, it can't affect quantum fields. Yet something is happening, John pointed out. Those ships didn't appear over the hospital by coincidence. Lisa tapped her tablet and sent images to the main screen. The energy signatures we detected aren't like anything in our scientific records. They show patterns similar to quantum entanglement, but on a macro scale that shouldn't be possible. What if human dreams actually do something to reality? Allison suggested. What if when we dream, we're not just processing information but actually manipulating something fundamental about the universe? The room fell silent as they considered this idea. There's a simple way to test this, Paul finally said. Zexalia has never dreamed before. What if we help her experience a human dream? All eyes turned to the alien. Zexalia looked nervous but determined. I am willing to try. My species has different sleep patterns. We rest, but without the conscious experiences you call dreams. I could use the equipment from my lab to induce REM sleep, Allison said, but we'd need to monitor closely. We have no idea how an alien brain would respond. Do it, John decided. We need answers before those ships make their next move. While Lisa and Allison set up the equipment, John received reports from agents watching the alien vessels. The ships had taken position around the hospital but hadn't attempted to land. They simply hovered, as if waiting. Commander Morris of the CSS Vigilant is demanding to speak with whoever's in charge down here. An agent reported, handing John a secure communication device. John looked puzzled. Who? She says she's from the Galactic Concord Enforcement Fleet. She's in orbit above us right now. John took the device. This is John Daniels, National Security Agency. Commander Eliza Morris here. You have breached quarantine protocols by harboring an unauthorized alien visitor. This constitutes a violation of Galactic Concord law. John's eyes widened. You're human? There was a pause. I am. The Concord recruits observers from protected planets for enforcement duties. It helps maintain the quarantine while avoiding cultural contamination. Then you can help us understand what's happening. We have alien ships appearing over our city. Another pause. The situation is deteriorating faster than expected. The quarantine is failing because human dream broadcasts have intensified beyond our ability to contain them. I'm coming down. Prepare for my arrival. Before John could respond, the communication ended. He turned to the others. Apparently we have humans working for this Galactic Concord. One of them is coming here. Meanwhile, Allison had connected Zexalia to her equipment. The alien lay on a medical bed, electrodes attached to her head. Your brain structure is different from ours, Allison explained. But the basic sleep centers appear similar. This device will stimulate those areas and hopefully induce something like our REM sleep. I am ready, Zexalia said. Allison activated the machine. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Zexalia's eyes closed, and her breathing slowed. The monitors showed brain activity shifting into patterns similar to human sleep. It's working, Allison whispered. Then Zexalia's body began to glow with a faint blue light. The monitors beeped urgently as energy readings spiked across the facility. What's happening? Paul asked, alarmed. Lisa checked her instruments. The quantum field disturbance just increased tenfold, and it centered on her. Outside, the hovering alien ships began to pulse with the same blue light, perfectly synchronized with Zexalia's glow. The entire facility trembled. Wake her up, John ordered. Before Allison could reach the controls, Zexalia's eyes flew open. But they weren't her normal solid black eyes. They swirled with colors and light like miniature galaxies. I understand now, she said, her voice resonating strangely. Human dreams are not just mental experiences. They're interactions with the quantum fabric of reality itself. The room around them seemed to shimmer, as if reality itself was becoming less solid. Objects cast multiple shadows, and sounds echoed, oddly. When humans dream, Zexalia continued, you unconsciously manipulate quantum possibilities. You sense what could be, not just what is. This ability evolved on Earth alone, perhaps because of your planet's unique magnetic field or some aspect of your evolutionary path. Are you saying humans are natural quantum computers? Lisa asked, scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. More like quantum artists, Zexalia replied. You create and reshape reality in small ways without realizing it. When you sleep, you create art or music when you imagine, you're touching what my people call the underlying current. The blue glow around her intensified. The quarantine was established because early contact with humans caused profound changes in other species. Those exposed to human dreams began to dream themselves, something many found beautiful, but destabilizing. Some civilizations collapsed when dream states spread among their populations. So we're dangerous? Paul asked. Not dangerous, transformative. Human creativity operates as a form of quantum entanglement. The ideas you imagine can literally reshape how other minds perceive reality. A loud humming sound filled the air as a new craft descended outside the facility. Through the security monitors, they saw a sleek ship land and a human woman in an unfamiliar uniform emerge. "Commander Morris," John said. "She's here." As if on cue, the facility door opened, and Eliza. Morris strode in looking grim. She stopped short when she saw Zexalia glowing on the medical bed. "You've done it now," she said. "You've triggered a full quantum resonance. The quarantine is completely broken." "What does that mean for Earth?" John asked. Eliza looked at the group, her expression grave. "It means everything changes. The Galactic Concord hasn't been protecting Earth from the galaxy. They've been protecting the galaxy from Earth's influence." She gestured to the monitors showing the alien ships outside. "Those visitors are just the beginning. They've been feeling human dreams across light years of space. Now that the quarantine has failed, they're coming to experience the source directly." "What will they do to us?" Allison asked. "That," said Eliza, "depends on what we do next." The next morning, news reports worldwide showed the alien ships hovering over major cities. Despite government attempts to control the information, social media exploded with videos and photos. Humanity faced the undeniable truth. We were not alone in the universe. In Washington, D.C., Paul Martinez stood before a hastily assembled council of world leaders. Beside him were Dr. Allison Wright, John Daniels, Commander Eliza Morris, and Zexalia, who had chosen to reveal her true form rather than maintain her human disguise. "Ladies and gentlemen," the President of the United States began, "we face an unprecedented situation. These visitors have not shown hostile intent, but their presence alone has created global unrest. I need to know our options." Commander Morris stepped forward. "The Galactic Concord has maintained Earth's quarantine for thousands of years. That protection has now failed. We have two choices: attempt to restore the quarantine through extreme measures, or prepare Earth for integration with galactic society." "What do you mean by extreme measures?" asked the British Prime Minister. "The Concord has technology that could essentially place Earth in a bubble, cutting off all contact with the outside universe. No signals in or out, complete isolation." The room fell silent as they considered this option. "And the alternative?" asked the Chinese president. Paul spoke up. "We accept that the quarantine has failed and prepare humanity for the truth. We establish controlled contact with these visitors and learn to manage our unique abilities." Dr. Wright pulled up her research on the main screen. "What we've discovered is remarkable. Human consciousness operates differently from other species. When we dream or create, we generate quantum fields that can influence reality at a fundamental level. These fields have been leaking into space, drawing other civilizations to us like moths to a flame. Is this ability dangerous?" asked the German Chancellor. Zexalia answered, her translator device converting her musical language to English. "All power can be dangerous if misused. Human dreams and creativity can reshape how other beings perceive reality. For some species, exposure to human consciousness is like a drug. For others, it triggers evolutionary changes. A few cannot tolerate it at all." "So we're a threat to the galaxy?" the Russian president asked. "No," Commander Morris said firmly. "You're a gift the galaxy doesn't know how to handle yet. Human creativity and imagination operate on levels other species haven't evolved to use. You dream of possibilities and then make them real. That's why art and music and stories matter so much to humans. They're not just entertainment. They're how you reshape reality." John Daniels, who had been quietly analyzing data on his tablet, looked up. "The ships aren't just hovering. They're forming a pattern. Look." On the screen, satellite imagery showed the alien vessels positioning themselves in complex formations around the globe. Energy patterns connected them, forming a web that encircled the planet. "What are they doing?" the president demanded. "They're creating a resonance field," Lisa Conway explained, having joined the meeting as their physics expert. "It's like they're tuning themselves to Earth's frequency." Outside the White House windows, the sky shimmered with aurora-like lights, visible even in daylight. Around the world, people reported strange dreams and sudden bursts of creativity. Museums noted that paintings seemed more vivid, music more moving. Children woke speaking of stars they couldn't have seen and places no human had visited. It's happening faster than I expected, Eliza said. The quarantine isn't just broken, it's being actively dissolved by both sides. Human consciousness is reaching out while alien minds are reaching in. We need a plan, the president insisted, something to tell the public. Paul looked at his unusual group of allies. Together, they represented both humanity and the wider galaxy. What if we create something new? Not isolation, not uncontrolled integration, but a managed exchange. Allison nodded enthusiastically. We could develop protocols to help aliens process human creativity safely. Think of it as translation, but for consciousness rather than language. And we could help humans understand what makes our minds unique, John added. Teach people to control these abilities we never knew we had. The world leaders exchanged uncertain glances. This wasn't like any crisis they had trained for. The Conquered. Council is requesting direct communication, Eliza said, checking her wrist device. They want to know Earth's decision. Isolation or integration. The president stood tall. Tell them we choose a third path. Partnership with conditions. Earth will join the galactic community, but on terms that respect our unique nature and protect both sides. Over the next several weeks, as humanity adjusted to the knowledge of alien life, Paul, Allison, and their team worked tirelessly. With Zexelia's help, they developed methods to control and direct the quantum fields generated by human consciousness. They created safe spaces where aliens could experience human creativity without being overwhelmed. The Galactic Concord, faced with the reality that Earth could no longer be isolated, established an embassy in neutral Switzerland. Commander Morris was appointed as Earth's representative to the Conquered, while Zexalia became the first official ambassador from another world to Earth. In Central City Hospital, the sleep lab became the center for groundbreaking research. Dr. Wright discovered that human dreams could be focused and directed, like beams of light rather than scattered broadcasts. She developed techniques to help people control what had once been unconscious. It's remarkable, she told Paul one evening, as they watched the sunset from the hospital roof. Above them, the shimmer of alien ships had become a common sight. We spent all of human history thinking dreams were just our brains sorting memories, when actually we were touching the fundamental fabric of reality. Paul nodded. And creating art, music, stories, they're all ways we reshape what's possible. No wonder the aliens find us so fascinating. We imagine things and then make them real. Some aliens are still afraid of us, Allison noted. Not everyone wants their reality reshaped. That's why the protocols matter, Paul said. We need to learn control, and they need to understand that change isn't always bad. On the hospital rooftop, a small gathering had formed. John Daniels was there with Lisa Conway, who had become the leading expert on quantum consciousness physics. Commander Morris had returned from a Conquered meeting, and Zexalia stood among them, no longer needing to hide her true form. To think, Zexalia said, looking up at the stars now visible in the darkening sky. My people sought to understand human dreams, never realizing we would gain the ability to dream ourselves. It is both wonderful and terrifying. That's what makes it human, John said with a smile. As night fell completely, the visitors from space glowed gently above, their lights mingling with the stars. On the hospital floors below, patients dreamed, their consciousness touching distant worlds in ways they were only beginning to understand. Earth was no longer off limits. Instead, it had become something far more important, a bridge between ways of being, teaching the galaxy how to dream.